The warning lights inside the small cargo shuttle blinked red. They had been blinking for 3 hours now. Sat in the pilot's seat, her thin fingers wrapped around controls that no longer responded to her touch. The ship was dying. She was dying with it. Her skin, which once glowed with a soft blue light like all people, had become dull and gray. She had not eaten in 4 days. The water recycler had broken 2 days ago, and now the life support system was failing, filling the cockpit with air that grew thinner with every breath she took. Was 23 years old. She had been running for 15 of those years. She still remembered the night the Dominion came to her world. She was 8 years old, hiding under her bed while soldiers with black armor broke down the door of her family's home. She remembered her mother's screams. She remembered her father trying to fight back with nothing but his bare hands. She remembered the sound of energy weapons, and then silence. A neighbor had found her 3 days later, still hiding, too afraid to move. That neighbor had put her on a refugee ship. That ship had taken her to another world. And when the Dominion came to that world too, had learned the most important lesson of her life: never stop running. For 15 years she had moved from planet to planet, station to station, always staying in the shadows, always looking over her shoulder. The Dominion had a long memory and longer reach. They did not like it when their property escaped, and to the Dominion that was all the people were: property, resources, things to be used and thrown away. Had tried asking other species for help. She had begged, she had pleaded, she had offered to work, to serve, to do anything. But the answer was always the same. No one wanted trouble with the Dominion. No one wanted to risk their own safety for a refugee with nothing to offer. Some species had simply turned her away. Others had pretended to help, only to sell her location to Dominion slavers for bounty credits. She had learned to trust no one. She had learned that kindness was just another trap. 3 days ago, a Dominion patrol had found her near the outer rim. She had been so careful, hiding her ship's signal, traveling only through empty space. But they had found her anyway. They always found her eventually. The patrol ship had fired on her, had managed to escape into hyperspace, but not before their weapons had torn through her shuttle's engine. Now she was drifting in unknown space, her fuel gone, her systems failing, with nowhere left to run. She looked out the cockpit window at the stars. They were beautiful, she thought. Cold and distant and completely uncaring, but beautiful. At least she would die looking at something beautiful. Her sensors made a weak sound. Looked down at the screen, expecting to see a Dominion ship coming to finish what the patrol had started. Instead, she saw something else. A ship she did not recognize. Its design was strange, angular, and practical, with markings she had never seen before. The ship was heading directly toward her. His heart began to beat faster. She tried to restart her engines, but they were dead. She tried to power up her shields, but there was nothing left. She was completely helpless. A voice came through her communication system. The language was unfamiliar at first, but her translator began to work, converting the words into something she could understand. Unknown vessel, this is Lieutenant of the United Terran Federation patrol ship Steadfast. We have detected your distress signal. Do you require assistance? Did not respond. She did not know what the United Terran Federation was. She did not know what a Terran was. Her people's star charts had marked this region of space as unknown and potentially hostile. For all she knew, these Terrans were just another species looking for easy prey. The voice came again, patient and calm. Unknown vessel, we can see your life support is failing. We are approaching to render aid. Please respond if you are able. Render aid. Almost laughed. No one rendered aid, not without wanting something in return. These Terrans, whoever they were, would board her ship, see that she was, and either sell her to the Dominion or keep her for themselves. It was the same story every time. But she had no choice. She could not run, she could not fight, all she could do was wait. Through her cockpit window, she watched the strange ship grow larger as it approached. It was bigger than her shuttle, but not huge. A patrol vessel, just as the voice had said. She could see lights in its windows, figures moving inside. How many of them were there? How long would it take them to reach her? She felt the ship shake as something grabbed it. A tractor beam pulling her toward the patrol vessel. Closed her eyes. 15 years of running, and it ended like this. Not with a fight, not with an escape, but with her too weak to do anything but wait for whatever came next. She heard sounds outside her ship. The hiss of an airlock connecting, the clang of metal against metal, then footsteps, heavy and solid, coming closer. The door to her cockpit opened. Forced herself to stand, to face whatever was coming on her feet instead of cowering in her chair. But her legs were too weak. She collapsed against the control panel, barely able to hold herself up. She saw figures in the doorway. They wore suits of some kind with helmets that hid their faces. They were tall, taller than, with broad shoulders and thick limbs. They looked strong, dangerous. One of them stepped forward and said something she could not understand. Her translator was struggling, the words coming through broken and incomplete. She raised her hands, ready to defend herself even though she knew it was hopeless. The figure stopped. Slowly, very slowly, it reached up and removed its helmet. Stared, the face underneath was strange, flat with small eyes and a narrow nose. Skin that was a warm brown color with no glow at all. Hair that was black and short. The creature looked back at her with an expression she could not read. It spoke again, and this time her translator caught the words. "Easy, easy, we are not going to hurt you." Did not believe it. She had heard those words before from other species, right before they hurt her. The creature took another step forward, tried to back away, but there was nowhere to go. Her back hit the wall. She was trapped. The creature stopped again. Then slowly, it lowered itself down until it was kneeling on the floor. It set its helmet aside and held up its empty hands, showing her that it held no weapons. "My name is," it said. "I am a human, a Terran. We found your ship and we came to help." His legs finally gave out. She slid down the wall, ending up on the floor, eye level with this creature that called itself human. "Please," she whispered. Her voice was rough from thirst and fear. "Please, whatever you want, I do not have it. I have nothing. I am nobody." The human looked at her with those strange small eyes. And then it said 5 words that had never heard before in all her years of running. "You are safe here, I promise." She did not believe him. She could not believe him. But she was too weak to run, too tired to fight. So she simply sat there on the cold floor of her dying ship and waited for the trap to close around her. It did not occur to her, not even for a moment, that maybe this time there was no trap at all. Had seen many things in his 12 years of service with the United Terran Federation. He had seen battles and rescues, victories and losses. He had met dozens of alien species, some friendly, some hostile, some simply strange. But he had never seen anyone look at him the way this alien woman was looking at him now. She was terrified, not just afraid, but deeply, completely terrified in a way that spoke of years of pain and betrayal. Her skin, which his scanner said should glow with bioluminescence, was dull and lifeless. Her eyes, large and dark, watched his every movement like a small animal watching a predator. "Can you walk?" he asked gently. She did not answer. She just stared at him, her thin body pressed against the wall, her hands raised as if to protect herself from a blow. Turned to his crew. His communications officer stood behind him with 2 other crew members. All of them had removed their helmets, showing their faces. He had ordered them to do this. He wanted this alien to see that they were people, not faceless soldiers. "She is in bad shape," he said quietly. "Dehydration, malnutrition, possibly hypothermia. We need to get her to medical." "Sir," said her voice careful, "we do not know what species she is. We do not know if the Dominion is looking for her. This could be dangerous." Looked at the young woman on the floor. She was shaking now, her whole body trembling. She looked like she weighed almost nothing. "She is dangerous to no one," he said. "Not in this condition. We help her first. We ask questions later." He turned back to the alien and knelt down again, making himself as small and non-threatening as possible. "I am going to pick you up now," he said slowly, clearly. "I am going to carry you to our ship. We have doctors there, food and water, a warm place to rest. Do you understand?" She did not respond, but she also did not fight when he carefully put his arms under her and lifted her from the floor. She was incredibly light, her body thin and fragile in his arms. He could feel her heart beating fast against his chest, like a small bird trapped in a cage. As he carried her through the airlock and onto the Steadfast, he felt her tense up, her fingers gripping his uniform. She was waiting for something bad to happen. She was waiting for the kindness to end and the cruelty to begin. Carried her through the corridors of his ship. Crew members stopped and stared, but he ignored them. He took her straight to the medical bay, where Doctor was already waiting. Was a small woman with gray streaks in her black hair and calm, steady hands. She had been a doctor for 30 years, first on Earth and then in space. She had treated humans and aliens, soldiers and civilians, friends and enemies. Nothing surprised her anymore. But even she raised her eyebrows when she saw the alien in his arms. She said quietly, "I have read about them. The Dominion conquered there about 15 years ago. Most of the population was enslaved or killed. The survivors scattered across the galaxy." Set the alien down on the medical bed as gently as he could. She immediately tried to sit up, to get away, but put a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Easy, child," the doctor said. "No one is going to hurt you here. I am a doctor. I am going to help you feel better. But first, I need you to tell me your name." The alien stared at her for a long moment. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "My name is." Repeated, smiling softly. "That is a beautiful name. I am going to examine you now. I will explain everything I do before I do it. If you want me to stop at any time, just say the word and I will stop. Do you understand?" Nodded slowly, her dark eyes still filled with confusion and fear. But she did not try to run. She lay still on the bed and watched as ran her scanner over her body. "Severe dehydration," said, reading the results. "Malnutrition, several old injuries that healed badly, signs of chronic stress and exhaustion." She looked at with serious eyes. "This woman has been suffering for a very long time." Nodded, he had already guessed as much. "Start treatment," he said. "Fluids, nutrients, whatever she needs, and make sure she has a room of her own, somewhere quiet with a lock on the door." Who had followed them to the medical bay looked at him with surprise. "A lock, sir? Is that wise? What if she tries to sabotage the ship or—" "She is not a prisoner," said firmly. "She is a guest. She gets a lock on her door because she has probably not felt safe in years, maybe decades. We are going to show her that she is safe now." Was watching this exchange with wide eyes, realized she could understand them. He turned to face her directly. "You are on a ship of the United Terran Federation. We are humans from a planet called Earth. We found your distress signal and we came to help. You are not our prisoner. You are not our property. You are a guest on this ship and you will be treated with respect and dignity. Do you understand?" She did not answer for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was hoarse and broken. "Why?" It was such a simple question, but the pain behind it was immense. "Why what?" asked gently. "Why are you helping me? You do not know me. I have nothing to offer you. I cannot pay you. I cannot work for you. I am just—" She trailed off, her eyes filling with tears. "I am nobody. I am nothing." Felt something twist in his chest. What kind of galaxy had this woman lived in, that she could not understand simple kindness? He pulled a chair over to her bed and sat down so that he was at eye level with her. "You are not nobody. You are a person, a living being who was suffering and needed help. That is enough. That is all the reason we need." She stared at him as if he had said something impossible. Tears spilled down her cheeks, leaving tracks in the dust and grime on her face. "You are lying," she whispered. "Everyone lies, everyone wants something." "I am not lying," said, "and I know you do not believe me right now. That is okay. You do not have to believe me. Just rest, eat, drink, let the doctor help you. And in time, maybe you will see that we mean what we say." He stood up and nodded too. "Take good care of her, doctor." "I always do," replied. Left the medical bay and walked back to the bridge. His mind was heavy with thoughts. There were a conquered people, scattered and hunted by the Dominion. By helping, he might be bringing trouble to his ship and his crew. But as he sat down in his captain's chair and looked out at the stars, he knew he had made the right choice. This was what it meant to be human. This was what the United Terran Federation stood for. They did not turn away from those who needed help. They did not ask what someone could offer before deciding if they deserved kindness. They simply helped, because it was the right thing to do. Behind him, he heard enter the bridge. "Sir, I have scanned the surrounding space. No Dominion ships in range, but if that woman is a fugitive, they will come looking for her eventually." Nodded slowly. "I know, but we will deal with that when it happens. For now, our job is to help someone who has been running for far too long. Everything else can wait." Was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "You really think we can make a difference? One ship, one crew, one refugee." Looked back at her with a small smile. "We have to start somewhere, Ensign. We cannot save everyone, but we can save this one, and maybe that is enough." Nodded and returned to her station. And the Steadfast continued on through the stars, carrying a woman who had nowhere left to go, and a crew who refused to let that be the end of her story. The first night on the human ship did not sleep. She sat in the corner of the small room they had given her back against the wall, her eyes fixed on the door. She was waiting for it to open. She was waiting for the soldiers to come, to drag her away, to show her that all of this had been a trick. The door had a lock just as the captain had promised. Had tested it 5 times, turning the mechanism, listening to the click, making sure it was real. She could lock herself in. No one could enter without her permission. She did not understand. The second night she slept for 2 hours before waking up screaming. The nightmares were always the same. Her mother's face, her father's blood, the sound of boots on the floor, the hands that grabbed her and threw her into darkness. She heard footsteps outside her door. Her heart stopped. This was it. This was when they came for her. But the door did not open. Instead, a voice came through the metal. A woman's voice, soft and gentle. "It is, I heard you cry out. Are you okay?" Pressed her hand against the door, feeling the cold metal under her palm. She did not answer. "You do not have to open the door," continued. "You do not have to talk to me. I just wanted you to know that you are not alone. I am right here if you need anything." Silence. Held her breath, waiting for the human to leave, to give up, to go away like everyone else always did. But did not leave. Instead, she started talking. She talked about her home on Earth, a small city by the ocean where the waves crashed against the rocks and the air smelled like salt. She talked about her family, her mother who cooked the best food and her father who told the worst jokes. She talked about how she had joined the fleet because she wanted to see the stars, to explore the unknown, to find something bigger than herself. She talked for almost an hour, her voice steady and warm, asking nothing in return. And somewhere in the middle of her stories fell asleep. A real sleep, deep and dreamless, the first she had known in years. When she woke up, there was food outside her door. A tray with bread and fruit and a cup of something warm that smelled sweet. No note, no demands, just food left for her to take or leave as she chose. Ate slowly, tasting every bite. The bread was soft. The fruit was sweet. The drink was something called tea, and it warmed her from the inside out. She could not remember the last time she had eaten something that was not stolen or begged for. Days passed, then weeks, and slowly, very slowly, began to understand that the humans were not going to hurt her. Doctor checked on her every day, always explaining what she was doing, always asking permission before touching her. The doctor never rushed, never pushed, never made feel like a burden or a problem. She treated old injuries, the ones that had healed badly from years of running and fighting. She gave medicine for the headaches and the shaking. She listened when talked and stayed quiet when could not find words. Visited often, bringing small gifts. A blanket from the ship's stores because was always cold. A data pad loaded with books and music and pictures of Earth. A small plant in a pot, with green leaves and tiny white flowers, because said everyone deserved something beautiful to look at. The other crew members were kind too. They smiled in the corridors. They moved out of her way when she walked past, giving her space, never crowding her. They invited her to eat with them in the common room, but never pressured her when she said no. And Captain checked on her every few days, always brief, always respectful. He asked how she was feeling. He asked if she needed anything. He never asked about her past. He never asked what she was running from or why the Dominion wanted her. He simply treated her like a person who deserved to be treated with kindness. Did not know what to do with any of this. Her whole life she had learned that kindness was a trap, that help always came with a price, that the only person she could rely on was herself. But these humans asked for nothing. They took nothing. They simply gave and gave and gave, expecting nothing in return. One evening, found herself in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. It was her favorite place on the ship. The room was small and quiet, with a large window that showed the endless blackness of space and the distant lights of faraway suns. She heard footsteps behind her and tensed. But when she turned, she saw only, standing in the doorway with his hands in his pockets. "May I join you?" he asked. Nodded slowly. She still did not fully trust him, but she was no longer afraid of him. That was something, at least. Walked over and stood beside her, looking out at the stars. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. "I have been watching your people," said finally. Her voice was stronger now, after weeks of food and rest and medicine. "I do not understand you." Smiled slightly. "We confuse a lot of species. What do you not understand?" Everything. Turned to look at him. "You are not strong. Your bodies are soft, you are short, you have no natural weapons. By galactic standards, you should be prey. You should be slaves like my people, conquered and broken by stronger species." Nodded, his expression thoughtful. "You are right. On paper, we should not have survived. When we first entered the galactic community, many species thought we would be easy targets. Some of them tried to prove it." "What happened?" Smile widened. "We disagreed with their assessment strongly." Waited for him to continue. She had heard stories about humans, whispers in refugee camps and space stations, but she had never known what was true and what was legend. "Humans are stubborn," said. "It is maybe our greatest strength. When someone tells us we cannot do something, we do it anyway. When someone tries to conquer us, we fight back with everything we have. When someone needs help, we help them even if it costs us, especially if it costs us." "But why?" asked. "Why risk yourselves for strangers? Why fight for people you do not know? It does not make sense." Was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he said, "When I was young, my grandmother used to tell me stories about our history, about all the times humans were cruel to each other, all the wars we fought, all the pain we caused. She said that we are capable of great evil, but she also said that we are capable of great good, that inside every human is a choice, a decision we make every day about who we want to be." He turned to face directly. "I choose to be someone who helps. I choose to be someone who protects the weak and fights the strong, not because it benefits me, but because it is right, because I could not live with myself if I did anything else." Felt tears prick at her eyes again. She had cried more in the past few weeks than she had in years. "I do not know how to trust you," she whispered. "I want to, but I have been hurt so many times. I have been betrayed so many times. I do not know how to believe that you are real." Nodded understanding in his eyes. "Then do not trust me, not yet. Watch us. Learn who we are, and in time maybe you will see that our actions match our words. You do not have to decide anything today, you have time. You are safe here." Safe, that word again, had never known what it meant. She was beginning to wonder if maybe, just maybe, she was about to find out. She turned back to the stars and stood beside her in comfortable silence, and for the first time in 15 years, allowed herself to feel something that she had long ago abandoned as impossible. She allowed herself to feel hope. The alarm woke from a deep sleep. She sat up in her bed, her heart pounding, her hands shaking. Red lights flashed in her room. A voice came over the ship's speaker, calm but urgent. "All crew to stations. Unknown vessels entering sensor range. This is not a drill." Was on her feet before the announcement finished. She knew. Somehow deep in her bones she knew the Dominion had found her. She ran through the corridors of the Steadfast, her bare feet slapping against the metal floor. Crew members rushed past her, heading to their stations, their faces serious but not panicked. These humans did not panic, had learned that about them. She reached the bridge just as Captain was taking his seat. Was at the communications console, her fingers flying over the controls. Other crew members filled the room, each one focused on their task. "Report," said. "5 ships, sir," answered. "Dominion military vessels. They dropped out of hyperspace 3 minutes ago and are heading directly toward us." Felt her legs go weak. 5 ships. The Steadfast was just one patrol vessel, lightly armed, designed for reconnaissance, not combat. Against 5 Dominion warships they had no chance. Turned and saw her standing in the doorway. His face was calm, his eyes steady. "You should not be here." "They are here for me," she said. Her voice was barely a whisper. "I brought this to you. This is my fault." "No," his voice was firm. "This is the Dominion's fault, not yours. You did nothing wrong." "Sir," interrupted, "we are being hailed." Nodded, put it on screen. The main display flickered and then a face appeared. It was not human. It was tall and angular with gray skin and black eyes that held no warmth or mercy. Recognized the species. They were the soldiers of the Dominion, the enforcers who kept conquered peoples in line. The figure spoke, its voice cold and precise. "Human vessel, I am overseer of the Dominion Third Fleet. You have something that belongs to us. A female, designation unclear, who escaped from our custody 15 standard years ago. You will surrender her to us immediately." Felt the world tilt around her. 15 years. They had been tracking her for 15 years. She had never truly escaped. She had never truly been free. Stood up from his chair, facing the screen. "Overseer, I am Lieutenant of the United Terran Federation. The individual you are referring to has claimed asylum on my ship. She is not property. She is a person, and I will not surrender her to you." His black eyes narrowed. "You do not understand your situation, human. You are 1 ship against 5. You have no chance of survival if you resist. Surrender thee and you may leave in peace. Refuse, and I will destroy your vessel and take her from the wreckage." "I understand my situation perfectly," replied. His voice was calm, almost pleasant. "And my answer is still no." Stepped forward, her heart breaking. "Captain, please, do not do this. I am not worth your lives. I am not worth your ship. Just give me to them. Let me go." Turned to look at her, and for the first time saw something fierce in his eyes, something hard and unbreakable. "Listen to me. Every species in this galaxy has told you that you are worthless, that your life does not matter, that you are something to be used and thrown away. They were all wrong. You matter. Your life has value, and I will not let anyone take you against your will, not today, not ever." He turned back to the screen. "Overseer, the United Terran Federation does not negotiate with slavers. We do not surrender refugees, and we do not abandon our own. If you want her, you will have to come through us." Stared at him for a long moment. Then something like a smile crossed his gray face, but it was not a kind smile. It was the smile of a predator looking at prey. "So be it, human. Your species has always been foolishly sentimental. It will be your extinction." The screen went dark. Immediately, the bridge erupted into activity. "Shields up," commanded. "Weapons ready. Send a distress signal on all frequencies. Let everyone know what is happening here." "Sir," another officer said, his voice tense, "we cannot win this fight. Their ships are larger, faster, better armed. We might take one of them down, maybe two, but we cannot survive against five." "I know," said. "We are not trying to win. We are trying to survive long enough for help to arrive." Stood frozen in the middle of the bridge, watching the humans prepare to die for her. She could not understand it. She could not process it. These people had known her for only a few weeks. They had no obligation to her. They had nothing to gain from protecting her. And yet here they were, ready to sacrifice everything. "Incoming fire," shouted. The ship shook as the first Dominion weapons hit their shields, was thrown against the wall, pain shooting through her shoulder. But she barely felt it. She was watching his crew, watching them fight back with everything they had. The battle lasted for 12 minutes. 12 minutes of fire and explosions and desperate maneuvers. The Steadfast took hit after hit, its shields failing, its hull cracking. 2 crew members were injured. One of the weapon's consoles exploded, filling the bridge with smoke. And then, just when it seemed like the end had come, something incredible happened. New ships appeared on the sensors. Not 1 or 2, but 12. Human ships, large and powerful, dropping out of hyperspace in perfect formation. They were warships, real warships, with weapons that dwarfed anything the Steadfast carried. Let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. "It is the Third Fleet, Admiral's fleet. They received our distress signal." Slumped back in his chair, relief washing over his face. "Open a channel to the Dominion ships." But before he could speak, another voice came over the communication system. A woman's voice, calm and commanding. "Dominion vessels. This is Admiral of the United Terran Federation Third Fleet. You are in violation of interstellar law by attacking a Terran vessel without provocation. You have exactly 60 seconds to withdraw from this sector. If you do not comply, we will open fire. And I promise you, unlike the Steadfast, we will not be holding back." There was a long pause. On the screen could see the Dominion ships hesitating, their formation breaking apart as they tried to decide what to do. They outnumbered the Steadfast, but against 12 Terran warships, the numbers were suddenly very different. Finally, Overseer's voice came through and could hear the barely contained fury in it. "This is not over, humans. You have made an enemy today. The Dominion does not forget. The Dominion does not forgive." "Neither do we," Admiral replied coldly. 50 seconds. One by one, the Dominion ships turned and retreated, jumping into hyperspace and disappearing from the sensors. The bridge of the Steadfast was silent for a long moment. Then someone started to laugh, and soon everyone was laughing, hugging each other, celebrating their survival. Stood apart from them, tears streaming down her face. She was looking at the main screen, at the 12 Terran warships that had come to save her. 12 ships, hundreds of humans. All of them had risked war with the Dominion for one refugee who had nothing to offer and no way to repay them. Walked over to her. His face was tired, his uniform scorched, but he was smiling. "Are you okay?" he asked. Shook her head. "I do not understand. I will never understand. Why did they come? Why did so many of your people risk so much for someone like me?" Put a hand on her shoulder, gentle and warm. "Because you are one of us now. The moment you stepped onto this ship, you became part of our crew, part of our family. And humans do not abandon family. Not for anything." Looked up at him, at this strange, stubborn, impossible species that had saved her life. And for the first time since she was 8 years old, hiding under her bed while her world burned around her. She let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, she had finally found a place where she belonged. The repairs to the Steadfast took 3 weeks. During that time, the ship docked at a Terran station, and the crew was given time to rest and recover. Spent most of those weeks in a state of quiet wonder, watching the humans around her, trying to understand the impossible thing that had happened. Admiral came to visit her on the 5th day. Had heard stories about the Admiral during her time on the Steadfast. Was a legend in the Terran fleet, a woman who had fought the Dominion for decades and had never lost a battle. Had imagined her as a giant, a warrior made of steel and fire. The reality was different. Admiral was small, shorter than most of her crew, with gray hair and a lined face. There was a scar on her jaw, a reminder of some old battle, but her eyes were sharp and kind, and when she walked into this room, she moved with the quiet confidence of someone who had nothing to prove. "May I sit?" she asked. Nodded, unable to find her voice. Pulled up a chair and sat down across from her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then the Admiral smiled. "You look better than I expected," she said. "Doctor told me you were half dead when they found you. A few more hours and you would not have made it." "They saved me," whispered. "I do not know why, but they saved me." Nodded slowly. "Yes, they did. That is what we do. That is who we are." "But why?" the question burst out of before she could stop it. "I have been running for 15 years. I have met dozens of species. None of them helped me. Some of them sold me to the Dominion. Some of them just turned me away. But you, your people, you risked everything. You almost died for me. And now you have made an enemy of the most powerful empire in the galaxy. Why would you do that for a stranger?" Was quiet for a long moment, her eyes looking past, into memories that could not see. "When humanity first went to the stars," the Admiral said slowly, "we were young and foolish and very, very weak. Other species laughed at us. They called us small and soft and short-lived. They said we would be conquered within a generation." She paused and something hard entered her voice. "Some of them tried to prove it. There was a species called the who attacked our first colony. They killed thousands of our people, took thousands more as slaves. They thought we would submit. They thought we would break." "What happened?" asked. Smiled, but it was not a soft smile. "We fought back. We built ships. We trained soldiers. We developed weapons. And then we took our colony back. It took us 15 years, but we freed every single human they had taken, every single one. And then we made sure they could never threaten anyone again." She leaned forward, her eyes meeting. "Do you know why we did that? It was not for power. It was not for resources. It was because we made a promise to ourselves on that day when we buried our dead and counted our losses. We promised that we would never let anyone suffer alone again. We promised that whenever we found someone in need, we would help them, because we remembered what it was like to have no one." Felt tears streaming down her face. She did not try to stop them. "The galaxy told us we were too weak to matter," continued. "We disagreed. And now we extend the same courtesy to everyone else. Your life has value, your freedom has value, and anyone who says otherwise will have to answer to us." The Admiral reached out and took his hand. Her grip was warm and strong. "You are not alone anymore. You have a home now if you want it, with us." Could not speak. She could only nod, her whole body shaking with sobs. For so long she had been nobody, nothing, a piece of property to be hunted and caught. And now, for the first time, someone was telling her that she mattered, that her life was worth fighting for. Over the next few months, made a decision. She did not want to go to Earth, did not want to live quietly on some peaceful planet while others were still running, still suffering, still believing that they were alone in the universe. She wanted to stay with the Steadfast. She wanted to help. She trained as a navigator. It was hard work, harder than anything she had ever done. The human systems were different from anything she had learned, and she had to start from the beginning like a child. But she did not give up. She pushed herself, hour after hour, day after day, until she could read the star charts as easily as breathing. Lieutenant watched her progress with quiet pride, helped her with her studies, quizzing her during off hours, celebrating her victories, encouraging her through her failures. Doctor kept track of her health, making sure she ate enough, slept enough, did not work herself into exhaustion, and slowly became part of the crew. Not a guest, not a refugee, but a real member of the Steadfast family. Word spread through the galaxy. In refugee camps and slave quarters, in hidden places where conquered peoples whispered secrets to each other, a new story was being told. There were beings in the galaxy who would help. There were beings who would fight for you, protect you, stand between you and the darkness. They called themselves humans. They called themselves Terrans. And they meant what they said. Heard the stories sometimes, when the Steadfast visited stations and ports where other species gathered. She heard her own story being told back to her, changed and expanded, becoming legend. The girl who was saved by humans. The refugee who found a home among the stars. She did not correct the stories. She did not need to. The truth was even better than the legend. 1 year after her rescue, stood on the bridge of the Steadfast as the ship dropped out of hyperspace near a small planet in a forgotten corner of the galaxy. They had received a distress signal, weak and desperate, from a species did not recognize. "What do we know?" asked. Checked her console. "A small colony recently attacked by pirates. They are asking for help, anyone who can hear them." Nodded, set course, full speed. The bridge crew moved into action, everyone focused on their tasks. Stood at the navigation console, her fingers moving over the controls with practiced ease. She calculated the fastest route, adjusting for obstacles, finding the path that would get them there in time. As the ship accelerated toward the colony, walked over to stand beside her. "Ready?" he asked. Looked at him. She thought about everything that had happened. The years of running, the fear, the loneliness, and then the humans bursting into her life like a star-going nova, changing everything, saving her in ways she had never imagined possible. She smiled. For the first time in her life, it was a smile without fear, without doubt, without the shadow of the past hanging over her. "Ready," she said. The Steadfast flew on through the stars, carrying a crew of humans and one navigator who had finally found her place in the universe. Behind them, in the space they had left, stories continued to spread. Whispers of hope, promises of salvation, the knowledge that somewhere in the endless darkness, there were people who would say the words that every lost soul needed to hear. "You are safe here." And they would mean it.